Oh, it's Nickel. Emma saw Karen and her family ahead, whom I don't like. Emma, let's go get some lunch. As I tried to pull her hand, Emma ran towards her friends. I really didn't want to run into that mother and daughter. They would probably make more snide remarks. I gave Tom a look and shrugged. Oh, Rachel, is that you? Out with the family? After looking Tom up and down like she was appraising him, she smirked at me. My husband is a top-notch businessman. Always so busy, he's on an overseas business trip this week. And then there's your husband, leisurely hanging out on a weekday? Must be nice to be so carefree. She bragged to us without even listening to what anyone else had to say. Excuse me? You're Mrs. Johnson, right? Your husband works at our company. What? As she heard my husband's words, her expression rapidly changed. My name is Rachel. I'm a 35-year-old working mom. I spend peaceful, enjoyable days with my husband Tom, who's the same age as me, and our 7-year-old daughter Emma. I met Tom at the shipping company where I worked as an office clerk after graduating high school. In the spring of my 10th year there, I fell head over heels for Tom when he was hired as a truck driver. His face was my type, but oh, those beautiful biceps. He'd probably ask where I was looking though. Boss, I'd like to stop doing long-distance drives for a while. You see, I've met someone I'm thinking of marrying. I remember the day Tom made that request to the company president like it was yesterday. What? We had only been dating for a month. I was so surprised to hear he wanted to get married when we hadn't even discussed it that I made a strange sound. Is that not okay? Of course it was okay. When I replied, yes, please, applause broke out. Our marriage blessed by everyone at the company. Emma was born the following year and is now in 1st grade. I'm going to be a big sister soon, right? Will it be a little brother or sister? I can't wait, Emma asked, beaming as she rubbed my belly. Who knows which it will be? Which would you prefer, Emma? Well, both. After some deliberation, Emma greedily said she wants both a brother and a sister. I hugged her tight, overcome with happiness. You see, 2 years ago, I wasn't able to give birth to a child I had conceived. The hospital told me an early miscarriage wasn't anyone's fault, but I blame myself for not being more careful. Maybe it was because I overworked myself while Emma was at preschool? I thought a part-time job doing light work sorting products and preparing shipments in a warehouse would be fine, but maybe lifting heavy packages put too much strain on my body. Remembering it makes my chest tighten. Emma, you have school tomorrow, so let's go to bed. I'm waiting for Dad to come home. I'm not going to bed yet. I can't blame Emma for being willful. She hasn't seen her beloved father in 3 days. As a truck driver, Tom's arrival time home varies day to day, but this past week it's been after Emma's bedtime. Tom must want to see Emma too. He's a busy man, but he takes pride in his job, so I couldn't bring myself to complain. If Big Sister doesn't go to sleep, the baby won't either. Okay, I'll sleep then. Good night. It felt a bit forceful to say, but it was already past 9 p.m. Putting Emma to bed each night was a challenge, but seeing her adorable sleeping face made me forget all about that. After confirming Emma was asleep, I went from her room to the living room. Oh, welcome home, honey. It seemed I had dozed off a bit with Emma. Tom was already back. I'm home. I thought it was Emma's bedtime, so I came in quietly. It would have been nice if you had gone to bed first too, Rachel. Thanks. He is so kind to me during my pregnancy. Feeling grateful for him, I reheated the stew for dinner. Come to think of it, is Emma going to the same elementary school as Nickel? What? They're in the next class over though. My hand stopped stirring the stew pot at Tom's sudden question. The children are not to blame, not to blame. They're not to blame, but just as I was relieved they weren't in the same class, hearing that name made my chest tighten. Why are you asking about that? No reason. Sorry. You still can't forget about that, can you, Rachel? How could I possibly forget? The unpleasant memories from 2 years ago came flooding back, and my tone and movements became agitated. Nickel Johnson. The name of Emma's best friend when she was in preschool. Unlike Emma, who was extremely shy, Nickel was sociable and good at taking care of others. They were as close as siblings. However, just because the kids are close doesn't mean the parents get along. Rachel, are you off from your part-time job today? Yes, I am, but why? I want you to watch Nickel after preschool ends. I want to make appointments at the hair salon and nail salon. Karen, Nickel's mother, wheedled in a coaxing voice, even though she had already made the appointments. I feel bad since it's your day off. Well then, please take care of him. Oh, and I'll say this up front, but don't forget to give Nickel homemade snacks that you made. I sighed, realizing she had asked about my next day off for this reason. Since the kids are close, it can't be helped. The days I watched Nickel were tough, thoroughly cleaning and making homemade snacks. If you don't want him eating store-bought snacks, then make and pack them yourself. That's what I thought to myself, but couldn't say out loud. If you ask her for anything, she gets in a bad mood. She's a difficult person. I put up with it for Emma's sake. And yet, that person, Karen, Nickel's mom, doesn't even try to understand others' feelings. Rachel, I'm so sorry about the baby. If there's anything I can do, just let me know. I'm here for you. She approached me, acting like such a good person, when I was in shambles both physically and emotionally. What? I didn't want it to be public knowledge, so I had only told Karen. I couldn't believe she would say it in front of so many people. We help each other out in times of need. On that day, when I couldn't rely on my parents living in another state and Tom was away, I still regret having her watch Emma for just one day. Because gossip reached my ears after I depended on her. They can't afford it, but they unreasonably put their child in a prestigious preschool. She wanted to hide that she works part-time, but it got exposed with a miscarriage. Even though she was finally blessed with a child. The unhealthy lifestyle of poor people is the worst, isn't it? Don't you think Karen is to blame for the miscarriage? Karen was bad-mouthing me behind her smile. Another friend told me the gossip was way too horrible, but that was also an unwanted meddling. The misfortune of others is like honey. I was hurt by the persistent attacks from Karen's clique. After that, I tried to distance myself from her. However, on a holiday when I was looking forward to Emma starting school in September, I suddenly got a call from her. Rachel, Nickel is saying he wants to go to Emma's house this weekend. Would it be all right if I come too? I'm sorry. I'm busy. You're off from your part-time job on weekends, right? Yes. Well, Emma and my Nickel are going to the same elementary school, right? So what? I wonder if she doesn't realize I'm avoiding her. Her insensitivity in talking to me so overfamiliarly as if nothing happened irritated me. Emma, were you able to buy a study desk? What? Why are you asking about that? I answered curtly and businesslike. I heard from Nickel that she still doesn't even have a study desk. That's... I swallowed my words, unable to say the truth. Because we were planning to move from our apartment to a house at the same time Emma starts elementary school. I don't want this person of all people to know our new address. The study desk is already in the kids' room of that new home. I was planning to unveil it to Emma as a surprise. Thank you for your concern. Is that all you wanted to discuss? No, it's not. Also, what brand of school satchel did you get? What? Asking the color would be one thing, but who cares what brand it is? She's been so fussy about this stuff since preschool. Nickel's personal clothes were all brand name too. Look, if you want to stay friends with my Nickel, you need to have the appropriate high-end items. What? So I'm thinking of having you show me this weekend. If it doesn't match up to Nickel's level, this is hard to say, but I want you to stop being friends. This is what it means to be so dumbfounded you can't speak. I sighed and moved the receiver away from my ear. Rachel, are you listening? You're having a baby soon, right? If you're having money trouble, I can front you the money to buy a study desk. Fed up with her voice coming through the receiver, I turned the call button off, muttering the worst person ever. On the day of the elementary school entrance ceremony, Emma happily put on the purple school backpack she had chosen herself. Settled into our new home awaiting the baby's birth, I was filled with joy and nervousness at the start of our new life. Emma, I hope you can make friends. Yeah. It's sad to be apart from Nickel, but... That's true. I hope you can make new friends. I feel bad for Emma, but honestly, I was relieved she wasn't in the same class as Nickel. I hope she finds a friend whose values align with mine. I kept it a secret from Emma that I sincerely wished she would meet a new friend like that. Hello, Rachel. Were you able to buy Emma a study desk after all? What? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Karen, oozing boss enemy vibes, had called out to me at the school entrance. Thanks to you. We exchanged brief greetings and left the scene with few words as parent and child. I hope your next baby is born healthy. My brain shriveled at the sound of Karen's loud laughter behind my back, and cold sweat ran down my spine. My heart was pounding. I had to get out of there before I started hyperventilating. Until I entered the classroom with Emma, I was in so much pain and sadness that I couldn't breathe. I've reached my limit in enduring things for Emma's sake. There's no need to force myself to associate with people I don't want to. I resolved that I must become strong for my beloved Emma and the baby that will be born. Emma, are you ready? Dad has the day off today, so he can drop us off. Yay! I'll change right away. Emma began excitedly getting ready to go to swimming. She's been swimming since preschool. She goes to class once a week. I had her attend as an excuse not to watch Nickel at home, but that was a mother's selfish desire. Emma really likes swimming. I'm glad we let her do it. That's my Rachel. When Tom said that to me, my chest definitely ached. I'm just relieved that Emma enjoys swimming. Emma, I want to eat with Dad and Rachel on the way back. Got it. He also looked happy as he replied with a big smile. Since he will be doing drop-offs and pickups for a while after the baby is born, he's coming with us today to scope things out. It's been a while since the three of us had a leisurely meal out, and we won't be able to for a while. I'm so happy. Feeling grateful in my heart for kind Tom who's cooperative with child rearing, I got into the back seat. At that time, I never imagined we would meet someone who would dampen our modest happiness. It's Nickel. In the parking lot of the swimming pool facility. Karen, who I have trouble dealing with, was standing where Emma's gaze was fixed. I had heard they go to the same swimming school, but I thought Nickel's classes were definitely on weekends. I was relieved we had never run into each other before. I instinctively braced myself. Emma, we're going to eat, right? Let's hurry up and go. Even when I pulled her hand, Emma ran over to her friend. I really didn't want to see that parent and child. They'll probably make more snide remarks. I signaled to Tom with my eyes and shrugged. Oh my, isn't it Rachel? Going out with the family? After looking Tom up and down as if licking him, she smirked at me and said, My husband is a top-notch businessman. He's always so busy and is on a business trip this week. And then there's your husband leisurely hanging out on a weekday? Must be nice to be so carefree. She unilaterally started talking and bragging. Huh. Uh-huh. Oh, my apologies. You're not out and about, you take him to the same swimming school. So you have the financial leeway for extracurricular activities. We ignored the chatty woman as a couple. But the phrase read the room isn't in her dictionary. He's on a business trip to France right now. We're thinking of going on vacation once summer break starts. Uh-huh. Tom, what part of what she just said was funny? I guess it can't be helped since he doesn't know what kind of person she is. I decided to just keep ignoring her myself. Tom, why are you laughing? Well, whatever. You know, I just had a great idea. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Whenever she thinks of something, it's always with ill intent. I gulped nervously. Tom, do you have a job where you can take days off on weekdays? Well, I can take off if I want to. I'm a truck driver, so I think they'll be flexible. I knew it. You seem like the type. She openly expressed her disgust at Tom's casual appearance. Personally, I think wearing a suit to drop your kid off at swimming school would be weirder. Nickel looks so out of place here too. I want to ask if he has a piano recital after this. Are we done here? Tom, who got in the pool with Emma, must be hungry too. He gets short-tempered when he's hungry. I don't suppose you could pick up and drop off my Nickel from now on? Huh? Remember, I just told you? John is a businessman at a top-tier company. I want Nickel to take English conversation from now on, and I plan to have him do piano and ballet too. And so I'm thinking of switching his swimming to weekday classes. Then please do that. I stifled a laugh at Tom's curt reply. I'm telling you I'm busy too. With Nickel at swimming, I can go to the hair salon and get my nails done. I'm saying drop-off time is a waste. Tom, you're free, right? I wonder how much I'd have to pay you to do the driving. Huh. I don't need any money, and I'll have to decline. Come on, Emma, let's go eat. Her lips twisted, perhaps irked at Tom firmly refusing. There's no way you have the money to eat out. Huh? Yes, we do. Don't assume if someone has money or not based on their job. Tom, who is usually mild-mannered, raised his voice at the end. I'll say it again. I think he's hungry. This is why I hate truck drivers. They quickly get loud and rough with their words, just the worst. Nickel, aren't you glad you're not in the same class as Emma? Nickel, whose head she patted, started crying. Mom, why would you say that? I wanted to be in the same class as Emma. It was obvious he wasn't crying because he was scared of Tom's voice. Tom patted Emma's head as she started crying too. It's tough not being in the same class. It's okay. I can't put you in the same class, but I can get your dad to take weekdays off. What? Why? What are you talking about? You're Mrs. Johnson, right? He works part-time for us, but... Not only Karen, but I was also surprised by Tom's shocking statement. Don't lie! I'm calling him right now. Slipping into a slight panic, she took out her smartphone and called her husband. I think he's driving right now. Yeah, if traffic isn't bad, he should arrive at the company around 8 p.m. Tom told her while checking his watch. Her face turned red then pale as she tapped her smartphone screen over and over. Mrs. Johnson, It's no use no matter how many times you call. To prevent accidents, we have them turn off their phones while driving. She panicked even more at Tom's resolute attitude and squatted down on the spot. First of all, John doesn't even have a commercial driver's license. No way! Liar! If you think I'm lying, come check with our company to confirm. We had him get his license since he said he wanted to work for us. What? What do you mean us? Tom handed his business card to her as she sat on the ground. No way! Emma's dad is the president of that famous shipping company? Yes, that's right. I slowly opened my mouth after ignoring her for so long. He became the president after taking over for his father. That's how it was. Tom decided not to take over the family business, graduated from a university in Boston, and got a job at a company once. But I guess it didn't suit his personality. Just before turning 30, he said he would take over the family business. His father was strict with his son Tom too, testing to see if he had the qualities of a driver. He had him do long-distance routes too, so he could experience the challenges of the job firsthand. This world isn't easy. I also worked in the warehouse, helping out with my father-in-law's work. Even if he's the president, it's still a low-class job, isn't it? How can you say that, Karen? Your husband is working part-time at a company you call low-class. Don't just say whatever comes out of your mouth. She must have been really frustrated because she tore up the business card she was handed. If this is a lie, I'll sue you for defamation. And screamed. 8 p.m. The office of the shipping company where Tom serves as president turned into a war zone. Knowing it would end up like this, I had Emma and Nickel evacuate to a separate room and turned up the volume, playing music. Explain what's going on! She cornered her husband, her nostrils flaring. I understand how you feel, wanting to confront him. But he drove a long way and made it back safely. Let's get him some food and rest first. Huh? Don't act so high and mighty. Rachel, how long have you known? You knew and didn't tell me. She directed her anger at my words and glared at John. Rachel really didn't know until today. Just hearing your name makes her so anxious she starts hyperventilating. How could you? That's horrible. She covered her face and started crying. Being told you're hated would be a shock to anyone. I shook my head at Tom, signaling him not to say anything more. But in my heart, I thought she deserved it. No, someone needs to clearly tell it like it is to people like her, or she won't get it. What? Her crying quickly escalated and her face became a snotty mess. Her makeup was gone, revealing her bare face. Was she a different person? Were Karen's eyes always this small? President, then I'll say it. Everyone hates you. Just the thought of going home to you makes me hyperventilate. You people are all the same. More importantly, why did you change jobs without telling me? I was fired. What else could I do? I was at a loss after being fired. So I consulted with Tom, with the president. What? Fired? Why didn't you tell me something that important? If I had told you, what would you have done? Comforted me? Consoled me? Tried to find a solution together? You would have just freaked out at best. Then why of all people would you consult Rachel's husband? Because he's the dad of Nickel's best friend. You see, at the entrance ceremony, Tom casually greeted me and asked with concern if I was okay since I seemed down. You were too busy bragging to your friends to notice though. Are you stupid? I can't believe you showed weakness to this family. I won't be satisfied unless I'm in a higher position than Rachel. What's unbelievable is your thought process. I sighed at her baseless claims. Stop it already! If you keep bad-mouthing the president's family, I'll consider divorce. What? Tom and I let out surprised voices in unison. I was even moved that he would go so far to defend us. I hate a mom who says bad things about Emma's family. If you keep it up, I'll become a child of Emma's family. Huh? I don't know when he started listening to the adults' conversation, but Nickel appealed with tears while holding Emma's hand. Fine, I get it already. Being hated by your daughter hurts the most. She hung her head on the spot. Here's the epilogue. At the office, she promised not to speak ill of anyone anymore, but someone's true nature doesn't change easily. John, her husband who kept warning her, apparently got fed up. Furthermore, she kept spreading gossip through texts with friends and ended up isolated. Unable to bear it, she schemed to transfer Nickel to a different school, but her husband left the house with Nickel. In other words, they separated. They started living in an apartment near my house under the pretext of company housing. I have no intention of returning until my wife truly reforms herself and sincerely apologizes. He said it clearly. She ended up truly isolated and helpless. My condolences. On the other hand, I gave birth to an adorable baby boy. I will feed him milk. Emma fully has the face of a big sister now. Nickel, you're next. The baby bottle passes from Emma's hand to Nickel's. That's right, Emma and Nickel remain close friends even in different classes. On swimming school days, they often come to our place together after school and wait. Now, shall we head to swimming school? Nickel's dad says to the two of them with a smile. Tom prioritizes John's requested days off so he can pick them up and drop them off. That's my Tom for you. John seems to unexpectedly suit being a truck driver and is working hard to get promoted from part-time to full-time. I'll be waiting with a snack ready. Yay! We'll be back. I'm not making it because someone ordered me to. The sight of Emma and Nickel happily enjoying it, saying it's delicious, is so precious. To protect our modest happiness, let's clearly say no to things we dislike. Let's minimize our relationships with people we don't get along with. If we get hurt, let's make an effort to forget. People who badmouth others are pitiful. My heart that forgives such people is beautiful. Telling myself this, my time kneading the cookie dough is peaceful. I found a new wife, so let's get a divorce. He said, handing me the divorce papers out of nowhere. What kind of way to say it is that? I replied to Christian, visibly upset. What do you mean? Explain yourself properly. There's nothing much to explain. You're in a wheelchair, right? That means I have to take care of you. I don't want that. So, divorce it is. Shalia, help me. What should I do now? Christian was nearly hysterical, his words hard to make out. His distress was far from normal. Who are you? I responded calmly. Who? It's me, Christian. At first, I didn't recognize him because of his drastic change, but hearing his voice made it clear. Pretending not to know him, Christian seemed quite panicked. My name is Shalia, a 46-year-old homemaker. I have a daughter, Lissa, who's 21. I live with my husband Christian, who's 4 years older, and our daughter. After finishing junior college, I got a job at a construction company. Christian, who was in sales for construction equipment, frequented my company. I was impressed by his diligent salesmanship and took a liking to him. Christian was always very energetic and had a loud voice, and although he sometimes got confused and looked at me with disdain, he left a good impression on me. When he asked me out, I quickly said yes. After several dates, we got married. Our daughter Lissa has already received a job offer. She's set to work at a financial institution starting this spring. Since it's within commuting distance from home, the three of us will continue to live together for a while. With her thesis submitted, Lissa is enjoying her last moments of student life. I felt relieved that I was finally getting a break from parenting. However, our family life hasn't been smooth sailing. Christian has damaged his liver from years of unhealthy living. He can't enjoy his favorite drinks and is on a restricted diet. Although working wasn't a problem for him, his frequent hospital visits led to many absences and lateness at work. His physical strength has significantly declined, forcing him to switch from a sales to an office position. Despite my concerns for Christian, I was overall happy. Your liver function has improved significantly. Let's continue living as usual. Recently, the hospital's test results were good. And Christian showed a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. Thank you. Does that mean I can live a normal life now? The doctor responded with a smile. Yes, that's right. This is thanks to your regular diet. Your wife has done a great job. I was so happy I could barely keep a smile off my face. Despite never receiving a single word of thanks from Christian, I was on the verge of tears, holding back with a handkerchief. The doctor's acknowledgement of my efforts was incredibly gratifying and appreciated. Christian frowned in displeasure. Doctor, what are you saying? It's because I've been taking my medicine and taking care of myself, right? It seemed Christian wasn't pleased with me being praised. He complained like a child who had his credit stolen. Hearing Christian's comment deflated my happy feeling. Of course, medicine is important. But the most crucial thing for your condition is your diet. You are where you are today because of your wife. You can't thank her enough. The doctor advised Christian in an instructive tone. But it seemed Christian wasn't receptive to the doctor's words. He didn't even try to hide his displeasure. So, I quickly wrapped up. Thank you. The conversation. Back at home, Christian called his parents to share the good news. He sounded very happy then. Christian always plays the victim, unable to bear not being the center of attention. Though his illness may play a part, I thought of him as a small-minded man. Everyone at work was so pleased. They said it's because of my good deeds. You two are nothing like that. Christian came home in high spirits. Taking such flattery seriously and looking down on me and Lissa seemed truly low to me. As I was about to retort, Christian blurted out something unbelievable. They're going to throw me a recovery celebration. I can finally drink again. I doubted Christian's words. A recovery celebration? You're not fully healed. How did you explain it to everyone? Christian looked perplexed, as if he didn't understand his own situation. How? The doctor said it's okay to live a normal life, didn't he? The normal the doctor mentioned is your version of normal, not the same as a healthy person's normal. He said to continue living as you have been. Christian suddenly looked annoyed. Let's not sweat the small stuff. I know myself better than anyone. I'll be fine for a day. Indeed, Christian had been abstaining from his beloved alcohol for a long time. Then there were the recent test results. I couldn't say I didn't understand Christian's desire to drink. I was worried but decided to give in. All right. Take care. Just make sure not to eat anything high in salt and limit yourself to just a sip of alcohol for the toast. Christian must have felt victorious, showing a smile I had never seen before. Can I really go? Thank you. Just remember your promise. Yeah, I got it. Christian wasn't really listening to me. It was uncertain how much of what I said would be adhered to. Filled with anxiety, Christian ended up going to the party. That night, Christian came home in high spirits, drunk enough to need a cab ride home from a junior colleague. I thought all the effort until now had gone to waste with such heavy alcohol consumption. Afterward, Christian started attending drinking parties once a week. He didn't consult me at all. He just went on his own. Christian then started making me even more anxious. While eating dinner, Christian began to complain about the restricted diet. "This is a bit bland, isn't it? It's so tasteless, I don't feel like I'm eating anything." Until now, he had never complained and even said it was delicious. His taste must have adapted to the strongly flavored food he ate at the drinking parties. At one point, Christian even brought home side dishes from a convenience store that seemed like snacks for drinking. He must have convinced himself he was cured, as others thought he was. I was overwhelmed with anxiety. This surely wasn't going to end well. I tried to warn Christian, but it was like talking to a wall. The last results were good, so it'll be fine. All I could do was sigh and hold my temples. Christian's condition didn't last long. One night, he rushed to the emergency room with severe abdominal pain and fever. The doctor's words were gravely serious. "Mr. Christian, you have cirrhosis of the liver, and it's quite advanced. You were continuing with the medication and diet therapy, right?" I took the medication. The diet, well. Christian awkwardly looked down. Both the doctor and I were at a loss for words. In my heart, I murmured, "It's your own fault." The doctor must have felt the same. At this point, all we can do is slow the progression and alleviate the symptoms. You also need to be careful of pancreatic cancer. Cancer? That can't be. Doctor, isn't there anything you can do? There must be another treatment option. Christian clung to the doctor, tears streaming down his face, begging for a solution. It's not that there aren't options, but... Please, what is it? What's the option? It's a transplant. A living donor liver transplant. There you go, there's a treatment option. Please, go ahead with the transplant. It's not as simple as that. First, we need to find a donor. Then, here. I have one right here. Christian grabbed my arm. A transplant can't proceed without the donor's voluntary consent. I wanted Christian to be healthy. But honestly, I was scared. I couldn't immediately agree on the spot. On the other hand, Christian's eyes were shining. When do we do the tests? Sooner is better, right? Christian was already set on receiving the transplant surgery. My feelings were of no concern to him. After much thought, I decided to undergo the tests to become a donor. I was a match as a donor. Then, the surgery happened in no time. The operation was over more quickly than I had anticipated. Both Christian and I had successful surgeries. I was hospitalized for 3 weeks, and during my stay, Lisa came to the hospital and took care of me. Afterwards, she continued to visit the hospital to take care of Christian. Christian spent a few days in the ICU before being moved to a general ward, and after 3 months, he was discharged. His prognosis was good, with no complications, rejection, or signs of infection, and he was recovering smoothly. A year later, Christian returned to society and started going to the office again. He looked healthier, more vibrant, and energetic than before. I truly thought it was good that we went through with the transplant. However, my condition then started to worsen. I began to cough, experience shortness of breath and dizziness, and often couldn't stand up. Thinking it was a consequence of the surgery, I had it checked during a regular checkup, but nothing abnormal was found. After visiting various hospitals, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. Despite not smoking, I learned that lung cancer can still occur. Lung cancer doesn't have specific symptoms, which is why it was undiagnosed. Fortunately, my cancer was caught early, so I could be treated with chemotherapy and radiation. The dizziness persisted, and I had difficulty standing, leading to a wheelchair-bound life. It was then, as our roles reversed, that a serious situation occurred. Christian didn't come home one night, and I was worried something had happened, but Lisa handed me her smartphone. On the screen was a photo of Christian happily drinking at a pub with his coworkers. "This was 10 minutes ago," Lisa said with a look of disbelief. I was flabbergasted. Despite having had a liver transplant just a year ago, it seemed Christian had no awareness of being ill. How much trouble he had caused the family due to this lack of awareness. I worried for nothing. Let's just go to sleep. However, Christian didn't come home that day. He didn't return the next morning either, so I called his smartphone. He didn't answer but sent a message instead. The message said he had left divorce papers in the bedroom for me to file. Shocked, I dropped the smartphone to the floor. I called Lisa loudly and asked her to check Christian's bedroom. Lisa came down looking pale. "Mom, this," she said, holding a piece of paper. Taking it, I gasped. "What's this?" I was filled with disbelief. The paper was a filled-out divorce application. "Unbelievable! What kind of person does this?" Lisa, possibly out of frustration, was red-faced and teary-eyed. I, on the other hand, had become calm. I felt more resignation than anger or sadness. Then, my smartphone rang. It was from Christian. Taking a deep breath, I answered. As soon as he heard my voice, Christian began speaking cheerfully. "I've found a new wife, so we're getting a divorce, LOL. Handing me divorce papers out of the blue, what a way to say it. I replied to Christian, clearly upset. "What do you mean? Explain yourself properly." "There's not much to explain. You're in a wheelchair, right? That means I have to take care of you. I don't want that. So, divorce it is." I felt like everything went dark in front of me. It was more of a feeling of disgust and pity than shock. Lisa snatched the smartphone from me and yelled at Christian. "What do you mean her? Are you even human?" I was still in disbelief. However, I didn't feel sad or hurt. Christian's selfish behavior over time had probably numbed my feelings for him. There was a sense of liberation in me. The regrettable part was that Christian never had any feelings of gratitude or respect for our family. Seeing Lisa looking at me worriedly, I smiled at her. "I'll be fine. I've been over him for a while." It's infuriating, though. Still, I was anxious. With my condition, working wouldn't be easy. Of course, I would ensure to get adequate compensation in the divorce settlement. But that alone might not be enough. Given the circumstances, I resolved to focus on what I could do, moving forward. "We have to make sure to get enough compensation from the divorce settlement to not struggle with living expenses." I renewed my determination, clenching my fists tightly. "He's got a healthy body now, so we should get what we're entitled to," I said to Lisa, who nodded vigorously in agreement. "That's right, I'm not alone. I have my lovely and dependable daughter, Lisa, by my side." 3 months after Christian left the house, an unbelievable situation occurred. I had just returned home from a hospital visit and was about to open the front door with Lisa's support when someone jumped out from a hiding spot. "Shalia, help me! What should I do now?" Christian was nearly hysterical, his words hard to make out. His distress was far from normal. "Who are you?" I responded calmly. "Who?" "It's me, Christian." At first, I didn't recognize him because of his drastic change, but his voice made it clear. The words I had just spoken were deliberate. I opened the door, now able to move without a wheelchair as my condition had improved. It would be a nuisance to have someone continue to kneel at the entrance, so I reluctantly let Christian into the house. In the living room, Lisa and I confronted Christian. "What are you doing here?" Christian began to speak, his forehead rubbing against the table. "Please, I was wrong. I want us to get back together." "Ha! The nerve you have to say that now," Lisa said before I could, echoing my thoughts. He had so easily discarded me just because he got healthy. And he had said he didn't want to take care of me. What does he want now? "Just leave, please." Lisa, unable to bear it any longer, grabbed Christian's arm to make him stand up and leave. When Christian attempted to rise, he suddenly clutched his stomach and collapsed in pain. Despite how I felt about Christian, I couldn't just ignore someone in pain. I asked Lisa to bring the car around, and we took Christian to his regular hospital. In the car, Christian was sweating and groaning, holding his stomach. Upon arrival, I quickly called for a nurse, who then took him to the treatment room. While waiting in the lobby, a nurse called me into the treatment room. Christian's doctor was there and began to explain his condition. "Ma'am, you've just arrived, I see." The doctor seemed unaware of my relationship with Christian. There was no point in discussing that now, so I listened to the doctor's explanation. "What's his condition?" The doctor spoke gravely. "As I've explained to him before, there's a strong rejection reaction to the transplanted liver. Immediate hospitalization and treatment are necessary." Lisa chuckled softly in the background. "He's getting what he deserves." I coughed to signal disapproval of Lisa's inappropriate comment. But I completely agreed. The doctor pretended not to hear and continued. "We need to switch to a stronger immunosuppressant. This medication puts a significant strain on the kidneys. His kidney values are already poor, so using this suppressant will necessitate dialysis." I responded immediately. "I see. Please do what you think is best." The doctor seemed taken aback by my quick response. Starting dialysis means being bedridden in the hospital for about 3 hours, 3 times a week. Once it begins, it's a lifelong commitment, significantly impacting one's lifestyle. Normally, one wouldn't make such a decision so quickly. But I have no involvement in Christian's life anymore. What happens to him is none of my concern. The doctor began to discuss the possibility of transplantation. It dawned on me why Christian had come. He was probably hoping for a kidney transplant from me. Seeking help from me because his condition had worsened was far too convenient. Christian should suffer the complications of liver disease and live the rest of his life on dialysis. When Lisa was out, Christian came to our house again. This time, it seems he properly rang the intercom. He was so emaciated that saying he looked haggard would be an understatement. His face was lifeless and pallid, as if he might collapse at any moment. Although I had an idea why Christian had come, I let him into the house anyway. He must have sneaked out of the hospital. Then Christian began to talk incessantly about the woman he was involved with. She was a 24-year-old coworker. She's 3 months pregnant. Christian revealed shortly after leaving our home that the pregnancy was discovered. I thought I had no feelings left for Christian, but his manner of sharing this news made me feel disgusted by him. "Anyway, I've decided to go ahead and file those divorce papers we put on hold. But since I have my own life to live, You'll need to pay me a lump sum of $50,000 for the settlement, I stated firmly. It's a bit above the going rate, but considering my illness, it shouldn't be considered too high. There's no way I can pay that, Christian retorted, his face turning red with anger. Ignoring Christian's attitude, I continued. If she's someone from work, she must have known you were married. I'll also be seeking compensation from your mistress in the divorce settlement. Hey, cut the crap. Do you even know who she is? I had no idea who she was. She's the boss's daughter. And she thinks I've been divorced for years, Christian admitted, attempting to justify his deception. I was appalled by his selfishness. That's your problem. You've done enough. If you don't pay, I'll go to your company and have your wages garnished, I said sharply. Please, don't. If the boss finds out about the affair, it'll be a big problem, I thought to myself. It's already a big problem, isn't it? Staring Christian down, he timidly began to speak with a pale face. I'll figure out the money somehow. Just please don't tell the company. If the company finds out, she'll know I'm still married. It'd be cruel to her if she found out about the marriage from an affair. Sympathizing with his mistress? What about me? Christian looked taken aback, then hung his head. I'll arrange the money right away. Just keep quiet about it. I kept my stern gaze on him. Christian knelt on the floor, begging. Please, keep this quiet. I couldn't help but laugh at Christian's pitiful state. Christian explained he would borrow the $50,000 settlement from his parents and the mistress's settlement from a loan shark. As long as it didn't inconvenience me, I didn't care where the money came from, but I made sure he understood it needed to be transferred properly. We agreed he would file the divorce papers after transferring the settlement, and I made sure to get it in writing. Christian left dejectedly. He probably came to talk about a kidney transplant. But I didn't let him get to that point. By exploiting Christian's vulnerability, I managed to settle the divorce compensation without further issues. I was glad Lissa wasn't home. Witness such a mess. Being still legally his wife, I went to Christian's hospital to sign all the treatment consent forms, including for dialysis. I decided to check on Christian and found him and a young woman arguing in the common room. The woman seemed very angry. Their loud voices could be heard outside. Weren't you supposed to be cured? What's with the hospitalization? This must be Dina, the mistress. Please, calm down, Christian replied weakly. I don't want to deal with an old man in the hospital when I'm about to have a baby. Such a foul-mouthed woman. I wondered if she really was the boss's daughter. As Lissa eyed her suspiciously. I think I know her, Lissa muttered. Dina continued to rant at Christian. I absolutely can't handle caregiving. Christian shrank away, overwhelmed and unable to argue. And what's this about divorce compensation? Lissa looked at me and laughed. I just couldn't help myself and sent a letter about the affair to the company president. Perhaps that's why Dina came storming in. It's practically marriage fraud. He lied about being healthy. I'm the one who should be getting the divorce compensation. I couldn't help but laugh at her words. Lissa's letter might have been too much, but it was a case of reaping what one sows. A young doctor passing by struck up a conversation with Lissa. Is that your dad in the common room? There seemed to be a familiarity in his tone. Lissa responded with a smile. Maybe not. I watched their exchange with a touch of amusement. After the doctor left, Lissa looked happily at me, catching my gaze and blushing slightly. Then, A nurse mentioned to me that there was laundry piling up. With a smile, I responded, "Understood," and left, pondering that Christian likely had no one to care for him during his hospital stay. On the way back from the hospital, "I might know that woman, his mistress," Lissa mentioned. "Probably a senior from high school," she speculated, recalling a senior who left school halfway through her senior year due to pregnancy. "She must have dropped out because she was pregnant," Lissa mused, tilting her head in thought. She then suggested, "Maybe the child she's carrying isn't Dad's." Lissa shared rumors that the senior had been involved in dubious activities back then. I had a hunch that the father might be someone else. Just a woman's intuition. But it felt likely. It's that intuition they say women have. After some time, the alimony from the divorce trial was paid by my in-laws. And they didn't just transfer it, they brought it in person. They said, "We've been so troubled by what our son has done, truly sorry." As my in-laws apologized, tears in their eyes, kneeling on the floor. "I will accept the alimony from the divorce trial for my sake, but I intend to have no further dealings with my son, Christian," was their stance. Christian had angered the CEO and was fired on the spot. Though Christian received severance pay, it was taken by his affair partner under the guise of alimony for the divorce trial, and after that, he went missing. My mother-in-law tearfully shared this with me. Christian has been hospitalized ever since. Due to artificial dialysis and worsening liver conditions, it seems unlikely Christian will be able to leave the hospital in the future. The alimony from the divorce trial was transferred from the company Christian worked for. Probably out of shame for their daughter's scandal. It might be a form of hush money, I guess. The divorce turmoil has settled down. After a long while, peaceful days have returned to me. My lung cancer responded well to treatment, and I was recently informed by the doctor that I'm in remission. Now, regular checkups should suffice. Lissa is off to work. Right now, I'm alone at home. Looking around the empty house, this house originally belonged to my relatives. It was renovated and transferred to my name. The renovation costs came from my savings before I got married. This house is my possession. So, even after the divorce, I won't have trouble finding a place to live. As for Lissa, she recently reported that she's dating a young doctor. During her frequent hospital visits, she received advice from the doctor, and they became close. He was a kind, smiling doctor with a friendly demeanor. She plans to bring him home soon. I don't want Lissa to make the same mistakes I did. But with that doctor, she should be fine. I've lost a lot due to my illness. My marriage was a failure, too. But life still has so much more to offer. And then, the CEO of the company Christian worked for offered me a job. It must have been his way of making amends. It was an office job at a local construction company. They valued my previous work experience at another construction company. Since they said I could work from home, I accepted the offer. Having a stable income greatly reduced my anxiety about the future. I am going to be happier from now on. I don't just want to regret the past, I aim to live looking forward.